Some time ago, some good friends of ours in Milwaukee, they sent us a package, Jim and Lynn, and in this package, Jim especially wanted me to have this medal. He gave me this medal. It's a medal that he won for participating for finishing. I believe it was a half marathon or a marathon. I believe it was a half marathon, and the medal says faster than my pastor. Jim wanted me to know that he is faster than any pastor. Jim runs all the time, and I used to give him a hard time about that. And Jim is what we call in Texas a handful. He's a handful of love and laughter and fun. So he just wanted to give me a hard time. They sent Jim and Lynn. They sent this T-shirt in there too that says "Faster than my pastor." And I can't wear the T-shirt because, as they made known in the note, I'm too big to wear the T-shirt. but I do keep the medal in my office, and I hang it with my other stuff in my office here because it's an amazing reminder of what a gift friendship is. Friends, isn't friendship? I mean the sheltering tree kind, like Samuel Taylor Coleridge talked about. Isn't friendship one of God's greatest gifts to us? Isn't it? Solomon, the sage, says in Proverbs 18, a man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Do you have, outside of your family now, I'm talking today, outside of your family, outside of your spouse if you're married, outside of your loved ones, do you have a friend? Do you have friends like that who stick closer than a brother? Do you know that increasingly we Americans don't have friends? It's true. We're so busy. We love to pride ourselves on being individuals. Our entertainment consumes us. We're on our iPad, iPhone. It's not a Wii pad. It's not a Wii phone. It's an iPod. We become so consumed in our lives and have precious time for our family and our loved ones that many of us are bereft of friends. And when you go through life without giving yourself to relational greatness to other people to forge friendship, the experience of life is not only diminished, you are diminished. After all, God said in the garden, it's not good for man to be alone. That was before the fall into sin. That was when Adam would walk in the garden with God, and every word between God and Adam was full of love and closeness. He was in perfect intimacy with him. He was loved to the core of his being by an omniscient God. And yet, the Bible describes the condition of being without someone, aloneness, as not good. See, God created us to connect. And yes, to connect in good friendship. So, what would be some wisdom we could glean in a short time to help us to motivate us to give ourselves to relational greatness? Let me just read. This is Pastor Tim. This is Hidden in Plain Sight, Abiding Savior, Killeen, Texas. So grateful for you watching it. And I just want to read to you that wonderful commitment that Ruth, the Moabitess, made to Naomi, her mother-in-law, who was a Hebrew, in Ruth chapter 1. Let me just read 14 through 19. This is fascinating. At this they wept aloud again. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. Look, said Naomi, your sister-in-law, that was Orpah, not Oprah, Orpah, your sister-in-law is going back to her people and her gods. Go back with her. But Ruth replied, don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. And these amazing words, where you go, I will go. And where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me. When Naomi realized that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped urging her. Now there's wisdom for giving yourself to relational greatness, for cultivating friendships. You think of the people in your life. Maybe it's someone in the marketplace. Hopefully it would be a neighbor. Maybe someone that you're investing in your life in so that you can invite them to church. But then think of one person and then offer them radical, selfless love. Radical, self-giving, selfless love. Be others oriented. Others oriented. Now remember, Ruth is a Moabitess. Naomi's husband, Elimelech, and her two sons, Mahlon and Killeen, when famine struck in Bethlehem, the house of bread, they didn't trust God. They went across over the top of the Dead Sea, around the top of it, down into Canaanite territory, into Moabite territory. A people who had been cursed by God for not allowing the Israelites access to flee when they were fleeing from Pharaoh. And that's where they went. And there, Naomi's husband died, Elimelech. And then her two boys married Moabite women, not something to write home to for all the relatives in Bethlehem to celebrate. But they married Moabite women, Orpah and Ruth. And after 10 childless years of marriage, another tragedy struck. Naomi's two sons died, leaving her a widow in a foreign land, destitute, no future, no hope. But she hears that the famine's cleared up, and she takes Ruth and Orpah, her two daughter-in-laws, and they make the trek back to Bethlehem. And when they're there about to go in, that's when this scene that I read you takes place. And Naomi urges her daughter-in-laws to go back. Orpah kisses her mother-in-law with tears and does go back, but Ruth says, "Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God." She offers self-giving, selfless, radical love. Pastor Tim, let's get practical. It means letting the other one make the decision. You decide, Naomi. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I'll stay. Your people will be my people. And she offers her a commitment greater than marriage. Where you die, I will die. In marriage, when one spouse dies, you're released from the vow. She says, no. Where you die, I'll die. That's radical, committed, selfless, others-oriented love. Others-oriented love. Letting the other one even make the decisions. My dad had that corny joke that people would ask him, you've been married for so long, what's the secret to successful marriage? Well, we decided, Sandy and I, that she would make the minor decisions and I would make all the major decisions. And then he would wait for you to say, well, how'd that work out? And he'd smile and say, well, thankfully, in all the years of marriage, we never had to make any major decisions. When you care about the other person, they will know that you don't have to control everything. That I am perfectly willing with you leading and making decisions in this friendship. In fact, this verse jumped out at me, 22. So Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, arriving in Bethlehem. Returned from Moab, accompanied by Ruth. Whole books on friendship have been written about the art of accompaniment. You try to accompany someone else as their friend. That's not mentor. That's not discipleship. That is, I will accompany you. We will do life in tandem. Our lives will mesh like teeth and gear. And if you read the story of Ruth, you'll see that there's this wonderful partnership between Ruth and, of all people, her mother-in-law, where sometimes she lets the mother-in-law, the older woman, lead And then Naomi comes back and says, no, now you lead. You can glean. I can't glean in the field. And then when Ruth comes home and says, I met this guy named Boaz, then Naomi says, now you let me lead. Let me explain to you the kinsman redeemer and how when things are at its worst, God is at his best, working behind scenes. And that's part of how they forge that friendship. They allow each other to accompany each other on the journey of life. Believe it or not, it's an art that escapes us in cultivating friendships. My wife Gretchen plays the piano and the organ for our services, and sometimes Renee, our gifted soloist, will say, well, can you accompany me on this song? So when a pianist accompanies someone, that doesn't mean that they just blast out notes and then the other one sings the song. No, it means that they play the music in a way that enhances the voice and even especially the theology of the words being sung for the better of everyone. So in your relationship with other people that you're forging friendship with, don't think of controlling. Don't think I really got to teach this person all. Think of accompaniment. Just like Ruth, sacrificially, wholeheartedly. I mean, come on. She would be the foreigner. She would never, ever sew a dress for her little girl. That's what she thought when she went to this Jewish territory. She would never live the Moabite dream of having children and a family, because for all she knew, she would be a widow. All of that she's willing to give up to accompany the other person in life. What's the greatest example of accompanying selfless, self-giving love that you can think of that forged someone into a friendship and even a greater relationship than that? Isn't it Jesus? Doesn't he love us like that? It's radical. It's self-giving. Paul says that in Philippians. The attitude should be the same as that of Christ Jesus, who, being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be grasped. Charles Osgood was the CBS news anchor for many, many years. His famous line was, "I'll see you on the radio." I like that. Somebody told me once I had the perfect face for radio. But anyway, Charles Osgood told the true story of this lady named Ruth, who suffered a stroke and she lost usage of her limbs on the left side. And boy, it was tough for her because not only she lost the usage of her extremities on the left side, but she was a gifted pianist as well. Well, the director of this convalescent center introduced her to a woman named Margaret, who had also suffered a stroke, only oddly enough, she had lost feeling in the opposite side of her body. And when Ruth and Margaret met through this director at the convalescent center, at first they thought it was just so that they could commiserate and console each other. But this director had a greater plan. He took them into a room where he had brought in a grand piano, and he sat them both down on that piano bench, and you know how he sat them down, so that the paralysis would not be affected to hinder them in playing in tandem. So Ruth used her good arm and Margaret used her good arm, and together it was awkward at first, but over time they made better music than they ever did individually. And they forged a wonderful friendship. And when they were interviewed and asked, how is it that you formed such a great friendship? Margaret said, well, we learned to accompany each other, and we both love Jesus. And she said, when you love Jesus, there's a power that engenders friendship in the lives of the people that you met. You'll want to be a friend because Jesus was your best friend. God bless you with that motivation in your efforts to give yourself to relational greatness in friendship to others. Thank you.